Another day, another app. Now today, guys, we're talking about the Dave app. Is it a scam or is it not? Is it like a good app or is it not, right? And I spoke about yesterday about the earning app, and if you talked about one of these like get paid before you actually get your paycheck apps, you basically talked about all of them. But I know that some of you guys might say, well, Tommy, this app is a little bit different because every time you tip Dave, he actually invested some of that money into the trees and the environment, and that's a great cause, okay? And it sounds very good. And also, he doesn't charge you any interest. And also, he's always looking at your bank transactions. So in case anything is coming up that might put you in an overdraft fee place, well, he sends you the money. Well, he doesn't send you the money automatically. He tells you like, hey, you need the money. Okay, so you want me to spot you the money? You say yes. He sends the money over there. And then that saves you an overdraft fee, which sounds great in theory. Now, guys, I don't want to seem like an idealist, but a lot of these things that these apps are kind of saying is kind of like basic propaganda. Now, what I mean by this is like, for example, if you think that by you tipping Dave, you're saving the world, in reality, you're kind of not. And here's why. Every time those big corporations invest some of that money that you pay them, well, they take that money, they invest it into charity, yes, but in reality, that's just a tax deduction for them that saves money on their taxes while they're doing a great thing that you could have done on your own without having to pay them, and also write it off from your taxes, okay? So what I want to talk about is how the app actually works. Is it a good app? And what can you actually do to actually not need this app, okay? So the first thing I do want to talk about is how the app works, okay? So basically, if you never heard about Dave or any of these apps that kind of lend you money before you get paid, basically to even qualify for the app, you need a regular job with a regular paycheck that comes in direct deposit, and that's really always going to come in reliably, okay? Because they use all that information to make sure you can actually pay them, all right? So for example, if you're in a tough spot and you need some money, Dave can actually spot you $75 and you can use that money. You don't pay any interest. You don't have to tip them or anything like that, but it is incentivized for you to tip them at least 10%. And then some of that money goes into like making trees. I don't know what percentage. And then some of that money goes into their profits so they can keep their lights on. All right. And if you want the money immediately into your accounts, you have to pay like a $4.99 fee to get it in 8 hours, and at least 8 hours into your account, or you can just wait a couple of days and get the money there like within like 3 to 4 days. All right, and that sounds fine, right? Now that you know how the app works, I want to talk about the basic understanding of this app and why it's not really a great app. Now, the first thing I want to mention is this, okay? These apps use a lot of propaganda and kind of like fear mongering in a sense, all right? And avoidance and loss avoidance and stuff like that. It's a lot of tactics, okay? And it's all psychology. Now, here's the main thing, right? They always talk about overdraft fees. Oh my gosh, banks made $36 billion in fees in 2016. Oh my gosh, it's insane. What they don't tell you is that that's all volume, all right? That's all volume. And the real thing is that the banks didn't just make it off of overdraft fees. They also made it from like membership fees. They also made it from ATM fees and a whole bunch of fees that they don't include into that little link that they put into the Dave.com little like sub app thing, okay? Because I read everything in the website, and that's what they don't tell you. Like a lot of those fees aren't just like overdraft fees, and although it is great, like you don't have to pay like overdraft fees, okay? You shouldn't have to pay overdraft fees, right? So that's a great thing. And here's the thing, right? You don't need Dave anymore. And the reason I say you don't need Dave and that like marketing tactic won't work anymore because you have apps like Vero, you have checking accounts like Chim, you have checking accounts like Moneyline and a whole bunch of other apps out there that, guess what? You don't need to pay an overdraft fee. You don't need to pay any overdraft fees whatsoever. But when it comes to credit cards, I don't like for people to go into like credit cards that they don't like pay overdraft fees, because in reality, those overdraft fees that you will save on, you're probably going to spend money on interest, because if you're not being charged every time you're late and you keep being late, they're going to charge you a lot of interest. And in the long term, that's going to add up to way more than a $36 fee. And I want to make sure you guys know that. And the other thing I do want to mention is the entire thing perspective on, well, we're saving you a ton of money on these overdraft fees, which I already said it doesn't work in the real world anymore, because we have a lot of alternatives to those banks that charge you a bunch of fees. And in reality, I believe this. I believe that maybe in the next 2 to 3 years, banks won't even have most of those fees, because they're gonna have to get with the competition. And in reality, if you think that banks are going out of business, like banks are like, I think like Chase, like JP Morgan has over like 25 million active users in their Chase mobile app, without including like the 50% of people that don't use like apps. Because I know my mom doesn't use apps, her parents don't use apps. There's a whole bunch of people out there that don't use apps, okay? So there's a big market for people that are still not technologically advanced, okay? And they have 25 million people that are using the apps. Imagine how many more users they actually have, all right? So they're not going out of business anytime soon, and banks are going to keep adapting, all right? Okay, so now that we covered that the fees aren't a big deal, right? So you don't need to pay like Dave any money for overdraft fees when you have a bank account like Vero, all right? Because they don't have any fees. Well, now what about the entire thing when Dave tells you, well, we know people fall in hard times, right? And every single time we lend you some money or we spot you some money, you can just tip us like 10%, and that helps us keep a light on, all right? And that's the entire thing. But not only that, every single time that you do that, we actually donate percentages to planting trees and actually saving the entire world, because trees save the entire world. I'm not trying to sound like an ass, okay? Because it does help. Like, trees are important, and it also provides jobs for people that plant those trees. I get that. I get it, okay? But here's the thing. If you're trying to save the world by giving a company your money, your hard-earned money, to invest it for you, like into saving the world, in reality, all you're giving that company that is a for-profit company is a tax deduction, okay? Because those donations that they do on your behalf, in a sense, they use it as a tax deduction against like their revenue, basically, all right? So this is my thing. So it's not about the money, all right? So it's not about the entire like goodwill of the entire thing of you actually giving money and saving the world. It's not about the overdraft fees. It's all about not really having a hand on budgeting, all right? Because that's all it really is. You don't need an app like Dave at all. And when Mark Cuban says, well, in my days, I spent so much money in my 20s to overdraft fees, it sucks. So I decided to invest into this company that helps you avoid overdraft fees. Well, Mark Cuban, we aren't in those days anymore. We have a whole bunch of bank accounts, checking accounts that don't charge you any fees anymore. So we don't really need the Dave app right now, okay? And if you're getting charged a whole bunch of money, and think about this, right? If banks made $33 billion, that's around 916 million individual late fee transactions, and we just go based on late fees. Well, guess what? Imagine if they didn't have those late fees. Imagine how much money that would be negative on their books, right? Because the average person is like negative like $100, right? And they're over 960 million individual transactions. Well, do 100 times 916 million. How much is that? Alexa, what's 916 million times 100?
960 million times 100 is 96 billion.
That's 96 billion that those banks would have been negative on if they didn't charge people a late fee so they can actually pay their money that they should have paid in the first place. And that's a problem that apps like Vero are actually going to have, unless like apps like Vero don't even allow you the chance to actually have any transactions come in if you don't have any money into the checking accounts. That's a whole different thing. So then the problem isn't going to be the late fee. The problem is going to be the service that you're paying for that you clearly don't have the money to pay for, terminating their service to you because you can't afford it. And that's actually a better thing. Guys, my name is TommyBryson, okay? And the main thing I want to get across to you guys is this. You don't need to pay an app like Dave 10% every single time you get tipped, okay? Every single time you need $75, because check this out. This is the math. If you take out $75 every single week, right? Because this is what's gonna happen. It's gonna form a habit into your head that every single time you're short, you can just borrow from them. That's all that's gonna do, okay? So you take that money and you pay them 10%. That's $7.50, okay? On top of that, let's say you pay them $1 a month, and let's do that weekly. That's around 0.25 cents, right? We add 0.25 cents. And let's say, for example, that you're doing this every single day of the week for the next year. That's 52 weeks in a year. We times that by 52. Well, guess what? You just paid them $403. It's insane. You don't need to do that. You can avoid all these fees because guess what? You're not paying them the overdraft fees, but in reality, you're not paying your banks the overdraft fees, right? But in reality, you're paying Dave a whole bunch of money that you don't need to pay them. No, Tommy, I'm saving the world every time I tip. No, bro. Literally, I remember I was going around in Manhattan and some lady stopped me and they told me, did you know that for $20 you can literally take care of an entire family in Africa, including buying water, food, a family of 4, and even paying for some of the clothing and education of that family. Literally for $20. If you want to help save the world and make a difference, either if your entire thing is saving families, saving trees, saving water, cleaning the planet, whatever you want to do, the environment, it's too hot, global warming, whatever it is, there's a way to do it where you can donate the money and deduct it from your taxes yourself. And the way to actually get a hand on your finances isn't having an app like Dave to actually spot you money, is actually creating a budget, okay? Create a budget, all right? And I have a bunch of videos here on my channel to actually teach you how to create a budget. And if you need more information, not just on creating a budget, but also on finance. I literally have an app, well, not an app, a link in the description down below for Audible. You get 2 free audiobooks, right? And you also get a 1-month membership. You can use this, right? Because this is what I would do if I didn't have any money to pay an audiobook membership fee, right? I would take the link, I would click it, right? I would download the books for free, and then I would cancel if I can't afford it, okay? And when you cancel, you can still keep the books. That's a great thing. You keep the books, you get finance books and how to budget books, and guess what? Now you have books, you have the information, you have the keys, and you don't have to worry about the membership, okay? That's what I would do if I didn't have any money. But I personally, I like using audiobooks because every single month I can get another audiobook, I can get more information, I can improve, and I can keep growing. Guys, my name is TommyBryson. If you don't know me, you know me now. Thanks for watching. Comment down below. Let me know if there's any other app that you want me to review. And by the way, don't tell me any more apps about like lending you money beforehand. You already know my stance on it. I don't like it. I don't care if Mark Cuban made the app, if Jesus Christ made the app. It's not a good long-term attitude to actually need money before you even get paid. There's something wrong in that entire matrix, okay? You need to make a budget. That's the real answer to things, okay? Make sure you subscribe if you want to keep up to date with like financial videos because they actually help you in your life and it makes a difference. Make sure you like to support the channel and make sure you get the audiobook subscription, yo, because in reality, it's going to cost you $0, okay? And just cancel the trial before the month is over and guess what happens? You keep the audiobooks. And if you like Audible and you want to keep having access to books, then don't cancel. Just keep having it and keep using it and you'll be good to go. I'll see you guys next time on the next video and peace.
You've got to start at the bottom if you're ever gonna reach the top. You've gotta watch all the seeds you sowed.